If you want to be the party that's paving the way for people to get into the middle class, a good way to start is stop trying to strip health insurance from millions of Americans and preventive and contraceptive care for millions of women, and stop trying to deport millions of striving young kids who just want to earn their shot at the American dream like the rest of us. Help us fix a broken immigration system.
President Obama, I guess we could say, was preaching to the faithful, speaking last month at the winter meeting of the Democrat National Committee, and of course accusing Republicans of trying to block progress for the middle class and, quote, asking them to help fix a broken immigration system. Well, is that really what he's up to, or is he just trying to get amnesty to let illegals come in, gain the vote, and solidify a coalition for the left for years to come? It is so good to have with us via Skype our good friend Phyllis Schlafly, a constitutional lawyer and founder of the Eagle Forum. Also still with us here, my former House colleague, former Pennsylvania Congressman Bob Walker. So, Phyllis, is the case really that this president wants to bring in a new vote, heretofore people who could not vote? You give them amnesty and they solidify a majority not only for 2016 but for the years to come?
That's their plan. That's the way they want to win the vote. And he is right that we have a broken system. The Congress and the administration did not build a fence that the Congress ordered. And as a matter of fact, I saw George W. Bush on television signing the law, but they never built it. And so the aliens keep coming in, and they are not necessarily people who subscribe to the American Constitution or to the whole idea of limited government. They are people who think the government should give them handouts and make jobs for them, take them away from Americans.
Bob, let me ask you, Phyllis brought up something I saw. She said she saw President Bush sign that bill for the fence. I was standing behind him, and the money never got there, and so the fence has not been built. Bob, and all kidding aside, is this situation the greatest failure of both parties over the last decade and a half?
Yeah, it's been a major failure in my view, J.D., because, I mean, I think that Phyllis is absolutely right. We have a broken system. I actually think there's a deal to be had in Washington that would solve a lot of these problems, and it begins with border security, but it also recognizes the status of some of the people who have been here for a long time and have performed them without being indicted in criminal court or any of those kinds of things. So I think that there's a deal that can be had. But the fact is that both sides have insisted on their best version of immigration reform, and as a result, we haven't been able to move forward.
Phyllis, one of the problems is it seems that the IRS is going to give a payday to illegals in terms of the earned income tax credit, where they haven't even applied for taxes. I mean, financial incentives, a kind of amnesty. How on earth does this help middle-class citizens of the United States?
It's just an absolute outrage. And of course, once immigrants come in, they get to be entitled to all kinds of our welfare, whether it's food stamps or welfare or Social Security, earned income tax credit, which is supposed to be a refund of taxes you've already paid, and they haven't paid any taxes. And so the whole thing is a terrible racket. Because these people don't necessarily want to be Americans and subscribe to our Constitution and our way of life. They just want jobs. And the majority of jobs in the last few years have gone to these recent illegal immigrants. And Americans are out of work and by so many thousands, and it's an outrage the way they treated Americans.
Bob, let me ask you the economic part of this equation. I know that the people with the statistics can play fast and loose, and when Americans quit looking for work, they're no longer counted in the unemployment numbers. How serious is the problem? And to Phyllis's point, that illegals are coming in, and basically every new job, it seems, goes to those from the community of immigrants, if you will.
You know, there are two things here that I think are really important, and that is, number one, that the statistics don't really say what it is in terms of the real joblessness in the country, and that's a situation that we really have to deal with. The other side of this is the thing that Phyllis started with, and that is the corruption of the IRS. I mean, the fact is, this administration, one of its biggest scandals is the fact that they have corrupted the IRS. Just this morning, I heard a story that the help centers for poor people are being closed in favor of turning over the money to help people with their tax returns to liberal groups that are associated with Obama. One more thing where they have just absolutely corrupted the IRS and are using it as basically a campaign unit that both goes after their enemies and supports their friends.
This whole Cook County, Chicago approach writ large has been chronicled in the Obama administration. But Phyllis, in the minute and a half before we have to part company, corruption and Hillary Clinton, these emails and what is going on with the former Secretary of State. What is your take on what this will mean for Mrs. Clinton and perhaps for the rest of us?
Well, I think she's in a bad shape. That even a lot of the Democrats are upset with the way she has played fast and loose with the laws and with the release of her material, her information, her emails. Honestly, I don't believe Hillary can be elected president. I don't think the American people want any more of her. We've had enough. But at any rate, we want people who will stand strong for the Constitution, for the rights of people who are Americans, for jobs for American citizens first before they give away jobs to foreigners.
A lot of nonpartisan common sense from you, Phyllis, but in the 30 seconds left, I'm curious, what do you think the Democrats will do? Do you think they will go further left with Senator Elizabeth Warren?
Yes, I do. And they will go further with corrupting the voting system so they get more votes in the ballot box. And that's what we cannot allow happen. At least we need an honest voting system so that we can vote out the Obamaites who have publicly said they want to fundamentally transform the United States of America. And we once had a pretty good nation with a very prosperous middle class. We need to get that back, give jobs to Americans.
And on that note, Phyllis Schlafly, you have our thanks. Bob Walker, stay with us. There's more following this update.